Hello and welcome back to the Time to Calibrate podcast. This is episode 37. I'm Brent Robiar, editor of The Calibrated Wrist and Caliber321 on Instagram. As always, I'm joined by my colleagues Bob Allaby from the YouTube channel Time to Go, Travel and Timepieces, and Mark Levesque, freelance writer and North American brand director for Isotope Watches. Today, we're joined by a guest who needs little introduction, though let's be honest, he probably wants one anyway. Many of you know him simply as the Dansome, a moniker his followers bestowed upon him without a shred of irony. Equal parts raconteur, style icon, and noted advocate for minimal lower body apparel, Dan Mann has become a fixture of the watch, golf, and, well, eyewear community through his irreverent storytelling, megawatt smile, and remarkable salon quality hair. You know, guys, Dan lives on the West Coast in the beautiful city of Vancouver, which is host to the Vancouver Timepiece Show again this coming April 24th through to the 26th. So make sure you have that event on your dance card. But for those who are geographically challenged, that also puts Dan 3 hours behind us. So as we record here on this wintry Friday morning, Dan is barely one coffee in at 7 a.m. So thanks for accommodating us, buddy. We're pumped to have you with us. How's it going this morning?
Oh, thank you. Let us note that 37 happens to be my age. And I have been up since 3 a.m. because I am old and I fell asleep at 7. And once the cat realized I was awake, she thought it was breakfast time. So don't worry. This is my third coffee and I am ready to roll.
I was hoping you were going to say you were so excited about being on the show that you couldn't sleep anymore. You just couldn't wait.
That was certainly part of it. So, Dan, you've always got a bunch of cool watches, particularly the indies and stuff like that, kicking around your place, but you're not at your place this morning. So what's on your wrist this morning?
I have the AV8 Chrono because it was the only video I was filming here, so I brought this one with me.
Very nice.
And of course, their giveaway went up yesterday, everyone. Yes. But this is the Snoopy one with the little comic strip on the dial. I love this thing.
Yeah, right on, Charles Schultz. Love it.
Yeah.
How about you, Mark?
I've got my first isotope, which is the Hydrium California. And I kind of, me and straps, right? And since isotope, we haven't developed a bracelet for this thing yet. We've been working on it for years. But it's not done yet. I went and stole the bracelet that was on my son's watch that had straight lugs, and it's a mesh strap I found on eBay years ago for $20. But it's super comfortable. I wore it like this in Austin at the show there, and a lot of people commented on it, and I even got the Jose seal of approval. So pretty happy with it.
Cool.
That's awesome. How about you, Bob?
I am wearing a kind of a surprise release from Vario. I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen this, the Futurist. With the faceted crystal. I was shocked when I first saw pictures of it because it's such a different watch compared to what they've come out with in the past. But it's awesome. It's one of my favorite releases of the year, especially in the more affordable range of watches.
Yeah, I've seen a few of those actually on Instagram now. There's a bunch of people that picked one up. I really do love that crystal. It reminds me, there was an old watch from the, I think maybe 70s. That was a Seiko. Do you guys know which one I'm talking about? It was faceted that way. It's very cool. Yeah,
I think Citizen did some like that too at one point. But yeah, neat watch. And I think it's doing really well for Vario too, actually. But
what about you, Brent?
I got on the Longines Spirit Zulu Time 1925. That's the anniversary edition with the rose gold cap bezel, etc. And I have it on a brand new strap that Artem have done. It's leather. It's kind of padded and it's got that deployant clasp. I think it's Berenia tan leather, but I really love it. Like it's fantastic, and I love the clasp, and I love the way it tapers. It tapers really small. I think it's no more than 15 millimeters when it hits that clasp. Really nice.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Well, now that we've got our wrist checks out of the way, I thought maybe I'd outline for the audience anyway the progression of today's show. Dan, we have you on this time every year to talk about the 12 Days of Dansome, which has really become a bit of an Instagram phenomenon, but this is also our next to last episode of the year, and we like to take questions from the audience. And this year we have a ton. So you're going to help us guest host, and we'll do our best to get through them all, taking turns weighing in. So we have our first question here. Dan, let's get the ball rolling. Already last year, the 12 Days of Dansome had outgrown its name. I don't even know what you really call it anymore, but this year it's bigger than ever. Why don't you give the audience a historical rundown and bring them up to speed in case they're unfamiliar with it and what's happening this year?
I always feel like I have the elevator pitch down, but I always get it wrong when I'm put on the spot. But I started this 5 years ago. I wanted to do giveaways and I wanted to give back to the community because we all know, being on a platform that without them, without followers, without all that, we don't have a platform. So it's about giving back and showcasing the brands that I worked with throughout the year. If I can do something, if I have connections and I can do something to give back, let's put that into effect. And so the first year was 12 days and 12 giveaways. The next year was 20. And this wasn't me reaching out. This was people recognizing it as a community bonding. And then the third year, it wasn't just brands, it was community creator guest hosts, such as all of you, which turned into a big 50 giveaways last year with 15 of us guest hosting. And for me, that's important as well, because look at some of these photographers and creators who have like 5,000 followers, and it's like, that's criminal. Like they have amazing accounts and people should know about them. So having them guest host is just as important. And then they bring in their brands, which grows the network of exposure. And, that's the big thing, is then getting more exposure for the brands and the creators and things like that. I just, honestly, in the end of the day, I want to bring joy. I love doing that. And I gain nothing out of this. There's no financial gain. There's nothing. The cost is the companies giving away the product and giving back. And then the big one, I think you all know, is having brand owners, as many as possible, film their own giveaway videos that I bookend, because I think it's important for the community to see that there are people behind it and they care. So fast forward to the 5th anniversary this year, and if everybody comes through with their videos, Ryan at Lock and Key, we'll have 60. Yeah, and really, I didn't reach out to a lot. I see them at the timepiece shows. I'm like, are you going to do it? But they're all like, yeah. Like Whitby, Travers, like, when am I going to be in the 12? Well, you're going to be in 12 days this year. Like, it's just incredible this year. So, does that sum it up, fellas?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's good. 60. That's a great number.
Yeah.
That's incredible. I'm so glad.
Wait, Mark is here. Why am I calling out Ryan? Mark, where's my isotope video? Spoiler alert, isotopes.
My bad. What we're giving away is on its way from England to me. Should be here sometime next week, and I'll put something together for you. And I've got some ideas.
So let's strap ourselves in here. Here's what our audience members want to know this year. So the first one comes from a good friend of mine, Stephen Nichols. He goes by Talking About Time on Instagram. And if you don't follow this guy, this is one of those people that Dan was just talking about, like just a phenomenal photographer. You've got to go and take a look at the stuff that he's producing. But he has a great question here. It's for you, Mark, and exclusively for you. Mark, who is your newest favorite person to meet this year, and why is it Talking About Time?
So I met Stephen after the first day of the hype in New York City. We were all invited to an Oris after party at this really strange dive bar, which you had to walk through some plastic, like temperature, the things they have at meat lockers where there's these plastic curtains that you got to walk. So you got to walk through that to get inside the dive bar. And there are license plates and all kinds of statues, and all the walls are covered with memorabilia. It's dirty and it's old. And apparently Oris does their parties there every year. And so I was walking up and I ran into this big guy who recognized me and started talking to me. I didn't realize who I was talking to until he introduced himself, which was 15, 20 minutes into the conversation. And so we hit it off and we were having a couple of drinks. And I showed up there with Chris from Popping Crowns, who was dealing with a personal situation, which I can't get into here, but he was dealing with something pretty intense and weird. And so, I was hanging out with Steven, and at the same time, there was this guy. I guess he must have worked for the bar, and he was going by us every 20 minutes and then going to this little door that seemed to lead to nowhere and disappear for like 10, 15 minutes. And we'd forget. And then he'd pop out and walk around the bar a little bit and then go back into his little cave. And he must have done that like a dozen times while we were standing there. It was the weirdest thing. Anyways, yeah, it was great meeting him. Ran into him again in Texas. and Jose actually hired him to do some photography on the spot.
What?
Yeah, Jose had actually the first isotope, the jump hour watch that he created that launched the company. He had it with him, and he had never had that thing photographed by a professional photographer before.
Wow.
So Stephen was there, so he offered to do it, and he grabbed it for the night. And next morning, the shots were done in his hotel room, and that was really cool. So Jose was really happy with that. As far as interesting people, yes, of course he's one of them. But there's this one dude I have to talk about. This was again in Texas. And he hung out with me and Jose for a while at our table, a big collector. He had all kinds of cool watches, and he had this really expensive, I don't remember the brand, watch with him. It was like a $30,000, $40,000 watch. But when he took it off, I noticed there was a watch tattooed on his wrist. And it was an FP Journe that was tattooed on his wrist. So I said, is that an FP Journe? He said, yeah. I did. I always wanted one. I got this and blah, blah, blah. But then, he had it for a while, and then he was ready to buy one. And he was in Miami at the FP Journe store. And the lady there happens to be Francois Paul Journe's niece that runs that store. And so when he took off his watch to show her, because she was interested, she saw the tattoo. And he was there to get an allocation. You have to apply for that in order to be awarded an allocation. So she called her uncle right away. There's this guy in the store with a tattoo of one of your watches on his wrist. So can we give him an allocation? He said, yeah, absolutely. You're giving him an allocation. That's how he got. He's still waiting 6 months there to finally get his watch. But yeah, so he got that. So that's a pretty interesting story. But yeah,
that's great.
Yeah.
So our good friend, Tyler Frederick, has 3 questions for us this year. He goes by Horology Obsessed on Instagram. And his first question is a really interesting one. When it comes to your ideal GATA, go anywhere, do anything timepiece, and if you had infinite possibilities, what would you create and why? Who wants to handle that one first?
I can go first. For a GATA, I would probably be a little bit vanilla in a way. Easy to read watch, probably a field watch, good shock resistance, water resistance, all of that. Bracelet on the fly adjustment system. I'm liking the solid loom blocks for markers. A lot of the brands are doing this past year, especially. So maybe go with something like that. And yeah.
Very cool. Like the Lumiere. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. What about you, Mark?
Well, you guys know me. I'm a dive watch guy. So if my GATA watch is dive watch. But if I had to create one, or if I wanted to have something in the GATA style where it's just time only, go everywhere, do anything watch, I think the Tudor Ranger for me was a pretty close one. If it had stark white numerals and lume instead of the Fotina, and if the bracelet clasp didn't rip the hair right off my arm, and that would be very good for me. But you know what? If I had to create one from scratch, have you guys familiar with the VPC Type 37?
That's just released this year. Yeah, beautiful.
Those are finished in such a way. I mean, it looks phenomenal. So I would do something very similar to that, but bump it up to 39 or 40 instead of 37 millimeters. The minute hand needs to be more distinct because right now they're very similar size, and the lume in the dark probably look identical. So I'd want the minute hand a little longer, and maybe throw on a 12-hour bezel, like a minimal thin 12-hour bezel. Because I like having a bezel on the watch.
Yeah.
So that would be what I'd create if I made a GATA watch, something like the VPC with a 12-hour bezel and larger.
Oh, that'd be really nice.
Yeah.
What about you, Dan?
I think I fall into the Bob category of like the vanilla, like the Explorer Ranger simple clean field watch. And you brought something up, Bob, that I didn't realize this year until I just started going through it. Chelsea wears the same size watch roughly as me, a little smaller, but the adjustable on the fly clasp is like something I need in everything now.
Yeah.
Just having that little tweak is something I need to have. But you've got to have all the basics, the solid movement, you want a lot of time storage on it, power reserve, that's the word, the big clear dial. But yeah, just a standard field watch like an Explorer type and a 37-30-80, on my smaller wrist. That's another thing this year. I'm discovering smaller watches like down from like 40, 41 and going under now and finding pure joy in them.
Oh, that's
so yeah, maybe a little smaller in that. Yeah.
I think that on the fly micro adjust is way overrated. I think, yes, I love a cool mechanism like the T-Fit clasp and all that stuff. And when it's really done well, it's really cool. But we've never needed that before. I mean, wrist swells up and down, whatever. Like we used to deal with it, never had an issue until it was invented. No one ever talked about having this problem, right?
Hmm.
Yes, we want to have micro adjustment with a pin tool, which is very simple to use. I can't believe people complain about being able to push a little pin with a thumbtack. But I find that if we do have them on the wrist, then you're always fiddling with it. You're never happy with the way it fits. It's either too tight or it's too closed. Never happy, and then it's annoying. Instead of fixing the watch the way it's supposed to be, and then just living with it and adapting to it, and then just enjoying the watch. Anyways, that's just my opinion.
I will take an on-the-fly adjust and a bottle of anxiety pills for your fiddling any day of the week.
You know, I actually think that your stance on the micro adjust is partially correct because you know, sometimes it can
Partially?
be a little thick. Well, partially because sometimes I agree that it can be a bit thick, but some of them are pretty good. And I think that the other part of what your complaint is more a reflection of your personality, but not being able to leave it alone. I see that about you completely. That you'd be like, "Oh, maybe this will get no, maybe that." but I would want one. And my Gata would definitely have one. Are you guys familiar with the Omega, the 120 sort of plongeur Jacques Mayol one? You know, so like you, Mark, I'm a two watch and dive watch kind of guy. So I think that my Gata would have a slender bezel like that watch, but it would be a 12-hour bezel. I think that's a great idea. I'd make a grade 5 titanium, but I'd keep that kind of like that truncated tonneau shape that it has. But instead, I'd go with numerals, Arabic numerals at the 3, the 6, and the 9, and no date. So that would be kind of what I would go with, I think. Yeah, something like that.
Cool. So next question, this is also from Tyler. Does movement matter more than aesthetic to you guys? You go, Mark.
Yeah, movement or aesthetics. So I won't buy a watch if I don't like the way it looks, regardless of the movement that's inside, right? Uh, would I buy a watch purely on looks? Probably not either, because there's a whole bunch of really good looking watches with Miata 8 series movements or NH35s or whatever they're called that I wouldn't wear because, as you know, and Brent pointed out, I'm a bit neurotic and I kind of like things the way I like them, and I need them to be fairly accurate. I can't have a watch that's 15, 25 seconds. I don't know how people wear those Seikos and have to change the time every 3 days because the watch is wildly off. It would drive me absolute bonkers. In fact, if I've got a cost certified watch and it's running 8 seconds a day, uh, it's going to last a day or two in my collection. It's going to be gone. I can't. I just can't. I need it to be. So looks over the movement, depending on what it is. Obviously, can't be one of those movements I just mentioned, but precision over anything else, as far as I'm concerned. But of course, you got to like the way it looks, right? I mean, if it's on your wrist, you got to. If you look down, it's super accurate. Look at me, but God, that's ugly. Yeah, that's not going to work. That's my answer for that.
I'm almost exactly the same answer, frankly. You know, it's got to be a good looking watch, and I'm not as picky about the movement, but I really do like to know that there's something really cool on the inside. Like my my Seamaster 300M is an older one, so it's got an ETA ETA movement on the inside, and you know it's fine. And I would never sell that watch based on that particular movement, but it is nice. I think sometimes when you see a really even just a beautifully decorated movement, you know, and of course, you know, when you get the newer Omegas and you have got the coaxial escapement stuff and you know, it's super accurate and it's METAS certified and everything. I really do like those. I really do like to see them too. When they have the exhibition display, but really ultimately it does first and foremost come down to aesthetics. That's what hooks you on the watch. You're not sort of like asking somebody, oh, this is ugly, what's inside, you know? So yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I appreciate like a good and accurate movement, but in my real life, in the way I wear watches, accuracy isn't as big of a deal because I'm swapping watches all the time. I'm also photographing a lot of time the watch that I'm wearing, and I do. Not everybody does, but I set it to 10:10. So I'm resetting it back to 10:10 maybe multiple times over the course of a couple hours. So the accuracy it just doesn't end up really mattering in my real world situation. So
what you're saying is that you're not recording at 10:10 every single time you're doing your videos? I was convinced.
But yeah, it's about the looks first, but I do appreciate an accurate and a cool movement with some cool tech happening in it as well. So What about you, Dan?
At my age, a good movement outweighs my looks. I saw this question and I wrote that joke immediately.
Are you trying to make us feel bad because we're a lot older than you are?
Yeah, I wear watches as an art piece, so they have to look good. They have to be something I love on my wrist, and it's nice to know. I'll geek out on movements any day of the week with you guys, but it's nice to know there's something cool inside. It's nice to have a display case back with a really nice movement, but as long as it's good and it tells time pretty good, and I'm like Bob, always taking pictures and resetting, yada, yada, yada. I have a collection of watches I enjoy looking at, and that's what it comes down to. Yeah.
I'm curious. I know this would never happen to Mark, but do you guys ever walk away from that photo shoot and only hours later you realize that the time is wildly wrong because you left it at 10:10 when you walked away?
All the time. All the time.
Right.
Yeah. All the
You're
time.
right. It's never happened. So next question from Tyler is, what are your automatic turnoffs with a watch? Brent, how about you go first on this one?
You know, I really had to dig for this one because I'm not sure what is the automatic turnoff. I mean, obviously there are things that I don't like, but I think that maybe I'm not a massive fan of full polish. So, and you know, I know that eliminates some very high-end watches that are beautiful watches, but just in general, the watches that I wear, I realize that there are very few that have excessive polish on them. You know, I think probably the one that has the most, this is odd because it's a tool watch, but it would be the Longines Legend Diver, because a lot of the top of that case is polished, etc. But you know, when polish is done right, that's one thing. But I find that sometimes in a less expensive watch, they just default to the full polish because it's an easy thing to do, and it's an inexpensive way to produce a watch. And so that's one thing that tends to bug me. I'm not a big fan of fingerprints either. So you know, like that whole thing, that is one area where I'm kind of neurotic. I'm constantly throughout the day polishing the sides of a watch, you know, if it's got excessive polish. So that's probably one of those things. I don't know. A bad bezel, just because I wear a lot of
misaligned
dive watches. If it's misaligned, that's, oh my God, yeah. But even
That's
the
a good
ones that everything else is great about the watch, and then you turn it and it's just not that satisfying click. It's more like a thunk or worse, you know,
or loose and wobbly.
Yeah. One time, I won't say the name of the brand, but it was a dual crown watch that came in, kind of a compressor style, not a true compressor. But when I undid that crown at 2, it was so loose that it literally just turned in the other direction the way I was tilting it. And I thought, oh, I can't ever wear that watch. But yeah.
I once had a compressor style watch when they first started being popular in micro brands, like years and years ago. And it had a screw down crown but when you went to screw it down, it would turn the bezel as you're screwing it down.
That's very practical.
So you had to set it 15 minutes ahead of where you needed it, so that when you screw it down, it would align where you wanted it to be. It was so annoying. I can't remember the brand. Even if I wanted to, I would have shot that company down if I would have remembered, but it's not there. Can't remember.
The worst is the ones that don't have a screw down crown and they turn on their own all the time. The Alpinist. I've owned 2 Alpinists, and it would drive me nuts. The bezel was constantly being moved by putting your hands in your pocket or whatever.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
For me, the big one for me is I didn't even think about misalignment. But misalignment is a big one for sure. But dial proportions for me, like if the hands are too short for the dial,
hands too short,
or maybe a chronograph and the sub dials are maybe separated too far, or it's all about proportions. Can like really throw off a watch for me. Loomed hands and no loomed markers is another big one, which I've seen the odd time. But yeah. What about you, Dan?
I have a joke here about loving all automatic watches, but I know that's not the question. It's funny. I was literally talking about my 2 pet peeves right before you sent the questions to me, to Chelsea. I was telling her. Number one is, and I don't have to mention any brands, but bad logo font just slapped right there on the dial, like, can spoil an entire watch. I get it's your logo, but if it's a bad font and everything, it ruins the entire thing. Like, that's all you'll ever see is that slapped right in the middle. Like, you need to come up with something that's a little more fitting to the timepiece if you want to, you know, logo wise. Like, there's just some bad font out there and font choices, and I'm going to say that. The other one is bracelet finishes that, even though you can have two-tone watches, like polished, etc., right? Like polished and brushed, and then it's where when you're looking at the lugs and the bracelet going together, like some Longines just I don't like, because I don't think the bracelet truly matches the watch because of the way the two finishes go together. And that's not calling out a specific brand, but that's just kind of what I think. I remember when like the Zulu, the new Pilot one with the stars, the Spirit line came out, and I absolutely loved those, but there was something about the way the bracelet matched the case I did not like. It
And
would
that
have
original
driven me nuts
clasp was
owning
just
that thing.
not good. I agree.
Yeah. Yeah. So those would be my two things. Yeah.
For me, and I'm sure you guys are seeing this coming, it's if a watch is not made to be available to have a bracelet, or if it comes out and there's no bracelet option for it, I will not wear a strap watch. And worse and more egregious is watches that can only take pass-through straps. So FXD watches and they're so cool. There's some really nice designs in the FXD line from Tudor, and it pass-through strap only is just so stupid. And there's that Ionos, the Greek brand that makes those really cool dive watches.
Yeah.
They're pass-through only as well. They did
CWC makes some that are only pass-through.
Yeah, that too. But that Greek company, I think it's Ionos.
You know what? I own a pass-through watch, and you
don't wear it, right? Because it's garbage.
I don't wear it because I don't like NATO's. All that much. I have this
NATO brother.
It's the Smith's PRS 40. I think it's like a bullhead chronograph. It's just such a cool design. I just love having it in my watch box. It looks awesome. But yeah,
and a bullhead chronograph with a pass-through strap. How big and tall is that thing got to be on your wrist?
It's pretty big. It's pretty big.
I'm sorry, man. I can't do it. It's just no. And it's to limit people's options that way. It's just stupid. It really is. And Tudor makes some of the best bracelets on the market. And the limit I get it. It's supposed to be with the French Navy, blah blah blah, historical, yeah, whatever. It's wrong. Give us an option. Actually, you know what? I saw a video. Some dude had engineered adapters for the FXD lugs. That fit on there. It was just a CAD design. No, I don't think anybody actually made them, but it was very cool looking, and the way it had clapped onto that fixed flat bar, and then bracelet came on. I said, I wonder if I can find that. Maybe I can put it in the notes somewhere. Anyways, so the next questions we've got come from Chris at Popping Crowns. We already talked about him earlier, but he's our good friend. So he asks, which modern brand do you think is the closest to getting it right in terms of identity and consistency? Dan, how about you go first on that one?
Oh, I was hoping you wouldn't start first with me on this one, because I don't have a true answer. I don't have an answer for this one. I wanted to hear you guys talking about it first and see if anything popped into my mind. So, Bob, I'd love to hear from you.
Okay, so I'm glad to go first, because I think the easiest answer is Tudor. They've done a great job leaning.
Brand. Which modern brand? Modern brand. Like not Tudor. Tudor's historical brand identities, Rolex. It's been like that forever, and most of their watches are based off of 1958s and 68s and all this other stuff. Talk about new brand. You're modern.
Okay.
And I would agree with you there, Bob. Tudor doesn't make too many missteps. They don't.
No, of course not.
Yeah.
Although the only thing that I was gonna say actually about Tudor is that I feel like that the Black Bay could get a little stale, and maybe it even is a little bit. I'd like to see them bring back one of their modern releases, like something like the North Flag, or I think they're missing something like that in the lineup. But yeah, now I don't know I'm with Dan. I'm on the sidelines on this one now, because I totally misread the question. Let me think about it. You go.
I'm gonna throw you guys a freaking bone here.
Okay.
I've got a couple that were listed down. Here, although I did make a note of like Tudor as well. I did mention that, and I think that also, even though we just sort of slagged a bracelet there, that there's the Spirit collection that Longines is doing is just getting better and better and better, everything that they release.
But
so
again, that's
I
not a
have
modern
them down
brand
here too, but no, of course. So the modern ones, I would go I would say that RZE has not made too many missteps. They're one of the brands I find that they've carved out a very specific identity. It may not be a watch that's for everybody, but it's recognizably RZE no matter what it is that you're looking at. And it has nothing to do with the logo. You could take the logo right off there and someone would say, hey, that must be an RZE. And
It
I
could
love
also
the
be a
fact that
Toker. It could also be what's a German brand? There's a lot of brands that have those angled cuts on their cases now, so it's not that.
Well,
Circular. That's the brand I was thinking about.
Circular. I was just going to say, but
so would Formex fall into that because they go with all the angle? They stick to that.
Formex's design language is slightly different with the suspension case on their angle things. No, I think Formex is their own. That's a good one though. Yeah. Formex is a very good one.
That's what I mean. They stick to it. Yeah.
But I also like that RZE is starting to take risks, with things like the UTD. That was a pretty huge risk, but that's probably the one thing that paid off for them the most.
It's so awesome.
UTD, and it is excellent. And it's really priced well on top of it, which is rare these days. The two other brands that I had down here were Serica. I just think like Serica, Dan, you were just talking about
nailed
bad dial logos or something like that. They don't even use it. They don't even put their logo on there. You know what I mean? And again, they don't have to because that's a Serica. It's beautiful, especially their 5303, the divers. Just absolutely love those, and I would like to pick one of those up eventually. And then the other one was Micro Mil-Spec. I think that I'd wear almost anything that Micro Mil-Spec has ever produced. So yeah, those would be my three.
I just had one come to mind actually that's been come out with hit after hit after hit since their very first watch is Studio Underdog. They're just having so much fun. Like the marketing is fun, the watches are fun. There's been a lot of cool collaborations. They've just done a pocket watch, I think, with Christopher Ward that was announced a couple of days ago. Yeah, I think that's a brand that's pretty on fire right now.
For sure.
I'm disappointed in all of you guys.
Okay.
No one said Isotope.
We're not allowed.
And I'm not going to say it either.
You have to say it anyways.
I don't want to run my tab up too much. Mark and I have an agreement at $20 US e-transfer per mention. So.
It's pounds, 20 pounds.
Yeah.
I'm going to go now here. Again, I'm not going to say Isotope, but for me, a young brand that's doing it right, making some really cool stuff, and has a real design language of their own, is Jack Mason. I think that Peter is doing some really cool stuff. And when you're looking at that watch, I personally, I know, Dan, you're doing the shaky hand thing, but Peter's doing something really cool. And I like the quality of his products. His prices are on par with, they're very aggressive, I find. He's using some cool movements, the 9 Series Miyota stuff with the GMTs, the collaboration with Dr. Pepper. Seiko was saying that, finally we have an official Pepsi watch that, it's not just a nickname. Hey, Jack Mason beat you to that a long time ago with the Dr. Pepper collaboration. That was on point and very cool that they did that. And, Dr. Pepper being based in Texas, and they're based in Texas. My opinion, Jack Mason's got a cool brand identity, consistent design language, and is firing on all cylinders lately.
Well, he certainly knocked the Strato Timer out of the park. That's a watch that looks a lot more expensive than it is. So,
feels also.
I'm embarrassed now, full circle, because I'm good friends with Huey, and I agree. Like RZE, just stick to their guns and stay the course with their designs and finishes and what they do, and they are, they're RZE all the way through. Like you say, take the logo off, that's an RZE. So yeah, that's got to be number one. And then Studio Underdog. I agree with Jack Mason. I mean, they're doing their own thing. I think their designs are a little reminiscent of older stuff, like you say, but they're true to who they are, and they stay with the branding. Yeah.
Funny thing about RZ, remember at the Vancouver Timepiece show, he had on his counter, he had a box with a whole bunch of like Riverstone.
Yeah,
and you had a little mallet, and you can smash the crap out of the UDT 800 or whatever it's called. And I passed by there, and do you schlep these rocks with you everywhere you go to every show? It's like 50 pounds worth of rocks. He goes, no, I get rid of them, and I buy new rocks at the Home Depot, wherever I go, or whatever store. I was like, that makes sense.
Where he's buying rocks? Yeah. We were right on Falls Creek. He could have walked down and got himself some rocks.
Yeah. Well, he had some nice Riverstones. And
it's an outdoor brand after all.
Yeah.
Okay, this next one's also from Chris, Popping Crowns. What's one topic you wish more listeners understood about the behind the scenes of watchmaking? What do you think, Bob?
The one thing that I hear a lot is with movements, like for example, a Salida movement. You can find it in a huge range of priced watches. You can get a Salida in an $800 or $900 watch, or you can get a Salida in a $6,000 or 6,000. Actually, we had a perfect example with Sherpa. I think their watches are 6,000 euros, and a lot of people are automatically go down the road of well, you can get the same watch at half the price, quarter of the price, whatever. But talking with a lot of brands, the cost goes into so many other things, especially if it's an original brand or a brand that has unique technology like Sherpa, for example. So that whole argument, second, there's a sort of a higher end priced watch like a Sherpa with a Salida movement. I just don't like that attack. It's a battle that brands like that are like fighting like constantly, and it's like a boring one to. It's a boring argument at this point. You hear it so often. I don't know. I don't know.
No, I agree. Absolutely. What about you, Dan?
That's exactly where I'm going, because I have this conversation all the time. So having sat down with the brand owner this year and him talking about the guts of his watch and sort of saying, my $1,800 watch, fit and finish, I believe is as good as this $9,000 Rolex. And that's because I've walked the factory floors and seen the parts and all this stuff. Now, where the conversation comes down to is telling people, yes, so you buy this Swiss-made movement, but it's about what the individual manufacturers are doing to tune that movement. It isn't just the stock movement. So a brand who doesn't make their own in-house movement, what are they doing to make that special? But then you go to the other and say, yes, but I'll give Rolex credit for one thing. They're making a lot of parts and things in-house. Are they still refining their own gold and stuff? Like,
yeah, they have their own foundries
like that.
Yeah.
Right. They do all that. So when you are buying a more premium, so to speak, watch, there's little touches like that they are doing in-house. But people should understand that those middle range brands are doing amazing things with these movements to tweak them a little and do something special. So that's the conversation that more people should understand. Right. Yeah.
Even the Sherpa had the mantra, the small, tiny little engravings. There's two different ones on the movement that rotate. I can't remember what the
train and the wheels. Yeah, on the train of wheels, so that they constantly turn in the mantra, just like a Tibetan prayer wheel. It's very cool.
It is cool for sure.
Yeah. Lots of little extras that brands like that are putting into their movement. Not to mention the regulating and all that kind of stuff too. But
I'm going to go with you guys as far as pricing. That was also where I wanted to go with it, but maybe a little further. It's not just the finishing on the watches, what they do, and the materials that they use, but there's a lot that goes into research and development, into making new designs that no one's seen before, right? I'm going to talk about isotope for a second here. The OVNI that we came up with is such a different watch than anything that's ever been made. It took 3 years for Jose to get that thing right. 3 years and countless prototypes. And we've been showing off the last prototypes for at least a year and a half now at shows. It takes a long time, and that's money, right? All the time that Jose goes back and forth with the designers and the engineers to get the disc to turn properly, the weight, to get the right materials for it. Here's an example. He had completed the design with the movement and everything was working functioning properly, but he didn't like the sound of the disc when it jumped. He wanted to sound a little more confident, a little more tinny, so you can actually hear go ding, like a proper solid. So you had the parts that made the thing jump go from brass to stainless steel.
Yes.
And those little, that's not insignificant. Now this is an extra cost of this. You got that done. Now you also have to consider, when you're producing watches similar to Serica or similar to Formex or others that are making designs that are very different, you have to build in the cost of the next one into the ones you're selling now. Unless you're doing crowdfunding every single time, right? and no one wants to do crowdfunding every time. And you're not a proper brand if you're always doing crowdfunding, in my opinion. So if you're selling a watch with a small margin in there, like a 25 or 30% margin, which people probably think, well, that's an incredible amount of margin. It's just great for you. But how do you make the next watches if all you're making is 30% on your watches? People have to take that into consideration. That model that Christopher Ward had at times 3. Well, in that times 3, they've got to pay for ambassadors, their staff, their overhead, and then they got to pay for the next watches that they're designing and that they're making and they're creating. Making a Belcanto or making a Loco or the Lumieres and all that stuff. This is all, that money's got to go somewhere. It's got to come in from someplace. So pricing is really important. People have to understand that. And for brands, smaller brands like Isotope, like Serica, like Moles, like going to these shows costs money. Like to fly from Europe to come to Texas, or fly from, Jose this year went from his place in the UK to the US several times. He's been to Dubai, to Singapore, to Prague, to Poland, to that money's got to come from someplace. It's not out of the sheer goodness of his heart that he wants to show his watches to people, and then the time away from your families and all this other stuff, and smaller brands that are not in retail locations where people can go and touch and feel watches need to go to these shows for people to be able to touch and try them on, because it makes a huge difference. If you've never handled an Isotope Hydrium, I'm telling you, it's nothing else. There's a weight to them. There's a feel to them, the bezel action, the way they look in person, the way they glint off the light, the little details that Jose puts into all the little dials and all the little funky hidden Lacrima logos everywhere. And we're not the only ones. I mean, there's a lot of brands that have to do this because, again, pictures on the internet can only do so much. So pricing is really important for people to understand. And not Serica, but the Sherpas that we were talking about, the one that I reviewed, yes, it's an expensive watch, absolutely. But in hand, it is quite special. It is built really, really well. It has a proper, real cushion compressor case. It was gorgeous. It had all the little details right. The dials were actually domed. I don't know if you noticed that. I think I wrote about that. The dials are domed to go with the crystal dome, and it made the watch a little slimmer because, anyways, people have to understand pricing. It's not just a subjective. It's not just put your finger in the wind and I'm going to price it at this much. There's a lot of thought into it, and everybody's trying to give buyers the best price possible. If Sherpa could sell them for $3,000, I bet he would. But in order for the company to survive and for them to be able to create more watches and come up with new designs, and he came up with a new bracelet recently, which is a very nice bracelet with a great on-the-fly micro adjustment clasp, which is not too thick, nice and thin, and really solid, good big buttons. That money's got to be reinvested into the company, and if it's too expensive, that's fine. I mean, there's all kinds of price points out there, but you got to keep in mind that a lot of these brands that are pricing themselves a little higher, like the Manta. Let's get that a good example. Manta makes a really high quality watch. Yes, it's a Solida, like some other brands that are maybe half the price, but the R&D they put into the watches and the finishing on their bracelets and the cases and the dials, it's really, really up there. And they're constantly investing in the company to go to the next one, to the next one, to the next one. So that's what I want to talk about.
Well, it's interesting. I think that what I sort of came up with for an answer to this question, it kind of encapsulates almost everything that's been said here. And that's that I think that people need to understand more than anything else is that a watch cannot be all things to all people. And people aren't creating every single watch for you. So when it comes out and then it's 39 millimeters and you say, why didn't they make it 37? And that becomes your critique. I think, okay, you might like a 37 millimeter watch, but you can't ask why they didn't do that. They did it because that was the design, that was the thought, that was the intent behind it when it was conceived. So in a way, I really think it's to be a little less critical in the critiques and just think about that, whether it's like what you guys are saying about the movements, or finishing or pricing. Is that people, I think, need to just understand a little bit. Like I say, a watch can't be all things to all people. And you know what? A watch that Mark might absolutely love, Dan might absolutely despise, but that doesn't mean that it isn't a great watch. So many times, like here at the Calibrated Wrist, we'll have watches that come in and they're not for me. Like that, it's not necessarily a watch that I'm going to wear or ever purchase. But when you're reviewing that watch, you have to think about it. But who is this watch for? And that's what you're basically, that's the scale that you're judging it against. It's like, this is this kind of watch, and it's a great version of that watch, or it's not a great version of that watch. But the point is, I think, is that people need to understand ultimately that, you know, watches are not made always for you, but that doesn't make them a bad watch. So
I agree with that
yeah.
100%. I
Yeah.
think the most successful brands are brands that are making watches that they love, that they are interested in, that they feel, and they're not trying to mass produce watches so that people can buy them. They're not making watches because other people are into 37 millimeter watches. They're making stuff that they really honestly love,
Absolutely.
and you know, other people will enjoy as well.
I actually like covering the watches that I wouldn't normally go for the most. Like I had recently one of the watches from Nectaire, the sort of that triangular. It's quite a bit too small for me, and not really the style of watch that I would go for personally. But it's fun to like experience those watches more than maybe a dive watch or a field watch, just to sort of mix it up, I find. But
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. I remember one of the first times I was reviewing watches for Instinct magazine back in the 90s. I was mostly dive watch guy. I've always liked sports watch, and I was young, 20 something years old. That's all I wanted. And they sent me a Parmigiani Fleurier skeleton gold dress timepiece at 38 millimeters. I sat there for, what am I going to do with this? Like, I know nothing about these things. And it was fun researching all about it and speaking
Yeah.
to the brand, and I don't know if I was speaking to the owner. I don't think so, but it was really cool researching, and it was a movement I'd never heard of before, and you know, it was cool. Yeah, I agree with Bob with that. That's cool point.
Right on.
We have many questions here. This one's also from Popping Crowns. What's something you've learned about each other from doing the show that's surprised you? Mark, you want to go on this one?
Sure. So I knew that Brent was a busy dude, and that's saying it non-sarcastically. He's the busiest retired guy I've ever met, and he has many hours in the fire, right? But during the Andrew McCutcheon episode, he revealed that he was also a luthier. He makes guitars. I also learned that word that day. If you've ever had a chance to hang out with him and Caroline, you also do know that he is a salt of the earth. I was at an event on Wednesday night talking to the Meadow brand representative for Canada and told him that I was Brent's podcast partner, and his face lit up. And this is the impression that Brent and Caroline make on everyone they meet. Just great people, and it's the reason why he's so successful, I think, is his personality, and he's just very generous in that respect. And Bob, what surprised me is his generosity with his time and enthusiasm for all things watches. He's always there when I need help with anything, or for photography, or for videos, or for just chatting on the phone. Every time we get on a call, we say, "Oh, just a 5-minute call," and it's 35, 45 minutes later, and we're still talking. I was at my mother-in-law's house having supper, and we were just about to sit down, and Bob called, and I took the call. It's going to be 5 minutes. I wound up eating by myself because everybody else had eaten the food already. So yeah, his generosity and his enthusiasm, he just lights up about watches and generally a lot of things, cars, whatever. He's just a very outgoing, very enthusiastic person. And I got to spend more time. Brent lives 2.5 hours from me, and my office is maybe 30 minutes from his home. I don't see him very much. Bob, I've seen more often. He lives in Toronto. He comes down for the Elon Solution events, either Montreal or to Ottawa, and he's coming over this weekend. We've got a Facebook Watch Club community event thing going on that we're going to go to tomorrow. But yeah, I honestly, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Hooking up with these guys, not in that way, Dan. It was a pure luck. Like, it was serendipitous, and I feel so blessed to have gotten to know you guys better and form this partnership, honestly.
I really appreciate everything you said, Mark. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
And I have to jump in right now just because you just finished talking about Bob, but like it's almost like you stole my notes here for Bob. Like, one of the things I find is that he's like one of the most relaxed people I know. It's so rare to see you ruffled for and I know that like there've been times where you and I were supposed to connect or whatever, couldn't, and then I said, oh, I got these watches, and you're like, oh, I can meet you there, and you'll just you'll drive out of your way, and we'll meet on the corner of a highway, have a coffee together or whatever, and exchange watches, not drugs. But we do the drop or whatever, and but I'm just always like impressed, like even when you're helping set up and tear down at the timepiece shows. those things, I mean, there's a lot of stress going on there, but you are like the least stressed guy in the room. You know what I mean? And you're
Try
working
to be.
harder than most people there. So like I just think that's fantastic. And then
Thanks, man.
like Mark, it's your passion. Like I did not understand the degree of passion that you had for not just watches, but for anything no matter what it is that we end up chatting about. But I also think you're an incredible connector. Like you have a talent for bringing people together, and then and also like managing that, like I just think about how the podcast has grown and how we had never thought it was going to be an invite guest kind of podcast, but you just started reaching out to people. And sometimes we joke about it, but you reach out to people like Chris Hadfield, and even though it hasn't happened, I feel like someday those are things that are going to happen just because you have the passion and the capacity to forge them into being, so I think that's really, really cool.
Mark even just reached out to Jay Leno last week, so he's swinging for the fences.
No. That's awesome.
Here, all right, I'll go. So I had the luthier thing in too, and I sort of heard you discussing this with I can't remember his name, with Serica, the owner of Jerome in Vancouver, and I was like, I must be not hearing this right. And then you confirmed it on the episode a couple of episodes ago that you were a luthier, so that was very surprising. The other thing that I was surprised is I knew that you were an author, but I for some reason figured maybe you were writing books on history or politics or something like that, but you actually wrote a few fiction books. I think were they Westerns?
Yeah, well, one of them's a Western. They're kind of historical fiction.
Yeah, that's cool. So that was kind of a surprise to me. I'm glad to have gotten to know your family too over the past few years. I always have a lot of fun we all do with Caroline at the shows and joking around. For Brent, one thing I didn't or for Mark, one thing I didn't realize is how involved you've been in the community for such a long time. I don't think I know anybody as close as I know you that has been. Even speaking with Roland Murphy the other day about your involvement in his forum, that was totally new to me when we recorded that episode. So I'm constantly learning a new sort of angles on your involvement in the community almost weekly. So yeah, there's still lots to learn about both of you guys. But I'm gonna throw Dan in here too, because Dan, the one thing I've learned about Dan since knowing him is he is one of the hardest working content creators out there. And you have a skill, Dan, where you make it seem like very casual. You've just flipped on the camera and, hey, how you doing? It's 3 a.m. The cat just woke me up. But I know the amount of work that takes, and I really appreciate that. So
yeah. I remember the day actually that you did the that really early morning video with the Oris bear at the time.
Yeah.
I remember thinking, like, I was exhausted. We had like there's been so much going on, and then I wake up, I grab my phone, and you've clearly been up for a while, because not only did you film it, stole it, but you actually had a chance to produce it and post it and that sort of thing. So yeah, that's very, very true.
He may have gone to bed earlier than you and I did, Brent. We'd gone to marathon and stayed up way out with Jose and Jason drinking until, I don't know, 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. So maybe
I don't stay up.
Yeah, you told us you're an old guy. Yeah, okay.
Awesome.
I didn't know I was going to be on this question, but thanks, guys.
So, Bob, I think you have some questions here from our friend Steve, ST Jets.
Yes, Steve. We got to meet Steve in Toronto this year. I spent quite a bit of time chatting with Steve. He's a really good guy. We have 2 questions from Steve, and these are more directed to Dan, one in particular, but I think we can all answer at least the first one. So the first one is, what would be the perfect 3-watch collection?
And why does this have a little laughy cry face emoji next to the question?
Yeah,
Because it's
Steve.
impossible to answer.
What was it expecting from me? So then I just wrote down Snoopy Omega Speedy, Snoopy Moonswatch, and Snoopy Timex XQ Chrono. Like, I just I thought that was the point. It'd be all Snoopy watches. But I don't have a good answer, but it would revolve around my DJ.
Hmm.
That's the answer, because my DJ had meaning into getting it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had a hard time coming up with specific watches, but my mind went to something old, something new, something borrowed, and something blue. And I know that's four,
You
but
get married or something?
a modern piece, a vintage piece, something with a little color for some fun. And if the brands are willing to lend me watches occasionally, I can have that fourth one in there to kind of keep things fresh. So I'm breaking the rules a little bit, but that's my answer.
Oh, so you're not giving any specific watches?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Brent, what about you?
Well, like I said, I probably could never have a 3-watch collection.
Yeah.
But like I would never get rid of my Omega for sure. But I really do like this Longines that I'm wearing right now, and I really do like the Legend Diver a lot. And I was thinking about, if I could add one more, just to have a 3-watch collection of one brand. And this is long before this question was ever asked. It would be that Flyback probably. So if that newer one. If those three, that would be perfect for me. A beautiful chronograph, 100-meter water resistance, a great little diver, also dress diver, and then with the GMT for travel, and it also has slightly dressy, so you could wear it with a suit, etc. That'd be perfect for me, actually. That'd be excellent.
Wow. So for me, right now, because I'm really smitten with it, would be one of the new Planet Oceans. Probably the orange dial with the orange bezel and on bracelet, of course.
It's so good.
Yeah, I saw it in person on Wednesday. I'm really smitten with it. I'm not smitten with the price though. At $11,700 Canadian, it's not happening. But like all Omegas, it's going to be 50% off in a couple of years, pre-owned. So I'll wait for that. Next one would be a 90s Zenith Rainbow Flyback chronograph on bracelet. It's one of the watches I fell in love with from magazines when I was a kid. It's such a spectacular watch. I know Blake Bettner just got one, well, just maybe about a year or two ago, and it's in NOS condition. It's such a great and cool looking watch. And to round it off, to get something somewhat dressy, or maybe a Grand Seiko Evolution 9, white birch, or something with a really cool textured dial with the spring drive movement. That would be my 3-watch collection. And if I couldn't have the Planet Ocean, I would settle with the Pelagus, Tudo Pelagus Ultra, or even the one that I have. I like them that much. So that's my answer for that.
Very cool.
What would Dan's, and this again is a question from Steve, what would Dan's dream foursome be? Can be people dead or alive. And what course would you want to play with this foursome? I assume he means golf here.
3 Chelseas. That is the correct answer. No, it's a golf question. My dream foursome.
He's getting in
She's
trouble now.
laughing in the background here. No, I would go with 3 Chelseas. I'd just have her cloned, and then it would be perfect. All right, so the course is going to throw people off, because when you're growing up, everybody as a kid, everybody knows about St. Andrews Golf Course or Pebble Beach, the famous. For me, it's New South Wales in Australia, because when I was a kid getting into golf, I saw in a golf magazine a photo of this golf course by the ocean that wasn't St. Andrews. It was this beautiful Australian links course, and it's always stuck in my head. Whether it's top 10 in the world or any of that is irrelevant to me. It was this memorable course by the ocean. And that'll segue into my 3 golfers, because one of them would be Greg Norman, because I grew up a huge Greg Norman fan. And people will say, what? Tiger Woods is not on this list, everyone. So just Jack Nicklaus is the king of golf to me, and he's done more for the game, and he did special things as a golfer. And the final is Lee Trevino, the Merry Mex. He's that personality on the golf course that you just want to be around. So for anybody who doesn't know golf, look it up. But those are the answers to the question for me. Yeah. Can I flip it back to you, gentlemen, and ask who your 3 dream watch people would be on a podcast?
I would have to pick up.
There's your
the
foursome.
4 of us right here.
That's it.
Thanks, Bob.
We are living the dream. That's right.
Do you guys golf? Mark?
Wow.
I used to
mean-
golf before kids. Once
Yeah.
kids come around, the weekends were busy. It's also a fairly expensive sport, and my money usually goes on watches. So
I find that like
yeah.
golf is the kind of thing, like it's like if you're going to play the guitar, you have to play the guitar all the time. And if you're going to be a good golfer, you got to golf all the time, because there's just so many little nuances in a swing. So I have great respect for people who are very good golfers. So I mean, I have golfed, I own golf clubs, and I golf very, very occasionally. But
Yeah,
yeah,
same here.
but
So we're going to be putting some money on the line then if we golf.
Yeah,
Well, we're not playing with Dan, that's for sure.
Do you all recognize and understand my list of golfers?
oh, for sure.
Yeah,
for
yeah.
sure.
I grew up watching golf with my dad. I
Yeah.
Greg
Yeah.
all those. I know all
Yeah.
those guys. I did prepare a list for this though, but they're not golfers. But someone would like to spend 4 hours having a couple of beers playing a sport with. First, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
That'd be cool.
He was not an idol, but someone I looked up to from when I was a kid. Started working out and his bodybuilding career and his, obviously his acting career and politics and all that stuff. So I think it'd be pretty cool. Clive Cussler, just a master storyteller, and I think he'd be really cool to be around. And Guy Lafleur, my favorite hockey player growing up when I was a kid.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I think that would be so cool to have those three together on a course, just having a couple of beers and listening to them talk. I wouldn't say a
Mark?
word. And for me to shut up.
I need to know, Mark, did you send away in the 70s for the Guy Lafleur disco album?
I had the Guy Lafleur bobblehead T-shirt when I was a little kid.
Oh,
And when my dad used to go take me to the hockey games, because he had tickets all the time when I was a kid, we'd go and, you're a kid, not really paying attention to the game, but he told me, he says, anytime number 10 gets on the ice, got to pay attention because it's magic. And it was, and I met him when my son was a year, 18 months, maybe a little less than that. We were at the mall. This is something we used to do because my son was born in January. And so the following January, the malls started opening till 9:00 at night every day. So it was something for us to do with the little kids, go to that mall and walk around with the kid and this and that. And he'd walk around ahead of us. And I remember he was sitting on my shoulder. So I was holding his hands like this. And he had a little cup of juice or whatever in his hand. I was holding it. And I'm with my wife and my wife's cousin and her husband, who didn't have kids at the time. And we were walking down and there's nobody in the mall because it's like a Tuesday night. And he and I look over and there's a new mobile phone store that just opened up. And Guy Lafleur was sitting on a stool there by himself. And we look at each other and says, is that Guy Lafleur? It can't be. And then we walk closer, we got, I said, yeah, that's him. So we walked right over to him, said hello, shook hands. He says, you want an autograph? Because that's what he was doing. It was a new store and he was hired to sign autographs for people. So I got this nice, it's actually in that cabinet behind the Christmas tree of, him saying, amitié, Marc, friendship, Mark. And he signed his name and everything. And I got a autographed picture of him back then. He must have been in his 60s, maybe, or maybe even 70s. He was very tall, very strong, very fit. His huge paws, huge hands, like he crushed my fingers. It was just a nice man. And he gave us all kinds of time, told us some stories. We were very lucky to have met him.
I actually met Guy Lafleur he was in New Brunswick, where I'm originally from, and he was promoting a drink called Flower Power that he had made, and with another company or whatever. I think it was like at a Shoppers Drug Mart, and he was doing an autograph signing, and he was signing the bottles. And my brother and I, both the bottles are still at my parents' house, signed and unsealed, never been cracked open, and they're disgusting.
Yeah, I bet.
What's inside, but they're still there. So, yeah.
I chose another three if we wanted to have orological people, and these would probably be Dan's answer for the guests for the podcast at the same time. If we could have three guests at the same time,
Okay.
Jean-Claude Bivet. I'd love to pick his brain and just to listen to his stories of the shenanigans he got into to grow his brands. And Nick Hayek Sr., the man that basically revived the Swiss watch industry, who started Swatch and single-handedly revived the country's biggest export, apart from drugs. And Max Busser. I've listened to him a couple of times on podcasts. He seems like just such a happy-go-lucky, Bob type dude, just non-stressed, happy, enthusiastic, fun. I think those three together in a room, just to listen to their stories, I think that would be wild.
Well, we're going to have to move on here. I don't even know if we're halfway through these questions. This is, we got some here from Jay and from Dang Urology on IG. He's also a huge part of our Discord group, et cetera, and one of our most dedicated participants. And these next questions all come from him. This one is, as a fellow content creator, I have to ask, what advice would you give to me and to others in this space. Any tips, lessons that you've learned along the way?
I would just say be yourself, be honest, and have fun. And the people that are having fun, even if your photography, your camera work isn't the greatest, are the people that I personally enjoy interacting with the most. Guys like Dan, although Dan's got the great camera work with his content, and same goes to Jay. Actually, he's ahead of the game too, because you can clearly see he's having fun, and his camera skills have been really developing over the last little while too. So yeah.
People have always given us this advice too. It's just consistency.
Mhm.
If you're going to do it, and do it regularly. Do it all the time if you can, and have the ambition to learn and grow. Like if I look back even at the photos that I was taking 5 years ago and posting, I thought they were good at the time, but I'm almost embarrassed by them now, and so throughout that 5-year period, and I was constantly on YouTube watching people's masterclass stuff, learning about the specific art of product photography or watch photography for that matter. I really think it's important just to constantly be wanting to grow, to know more, to be better,
Hey, don't sell yourself short. I love those kayak hand sunset shots.
Yeah.
Those are cool. That's what got me to follow you in the first place, is those cool shots 5 years ago.
Mhm.
You guys both said it. I'm not much of a content creator. I take pictures with my cell phone. I'm just a dude who likes watches. But I think being consistent is what you said there. If you're going to post regularly, do that. Don't post and disappear for a month and then come back and post some more. If you're going to be a content creator, be consistent, and create the content that you'd like to see. Don't try making stuff that that people want to see. You're going to fail at that. Trying to create a viral video because you want to create a viral video, that's not going to work. Just be yourself, do your thing, and let your passion shine through. And I think the rest will come, I believe. But, I've got the least amount of followers of all you guys, and probably don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
Dan, you want to close this one out for us?
Everything you just said, I have in bullets in my notes. Everything. Be you. Do what you love. Create your own content. Look, the only reason I think I have some success is because I didn't fall into the trends and copy what other people are doing, their styles, etc. I learned, I figured out how I wanted to do it. I kept changing to update my quality. Jay, I'll mention Jay Dangarology. His videos look amazing now. Like it's
Mhm.
just fantastic. And just keep moving forward as you. Right? That's what it comes down to. I haven't changed who I am to cater to anyone. I just make the content I want to make. And people will say, well, you don't grow to 1 million followers. You don't get millions of views on your stuff, but that's just because I want to do it the way I do it. And that attracts the brands, etc., who want to do stuff with me because they love what I'm doing.
Mhm.
And that's the only way you're going to differentiate, right? Yeah.
All right. So next question. This is also from Jay. What were your top highlights of the year, non-watch related? You want to go, Brent?
Yeah, sure. Like we do a lot of travel, and a lot of the travel is, of course, driven originally by watches, but we try to stay on a little bit afterwards, especially now that Caroline and I are going at this together. So it's nice that the two of us are on the road often together. So, we've spent a few extra days in sort of Switzerland and France. So we did the same thing when we were in Sweden recently. And I would say that was probably a big highlight was being in Stockholm and in and around Stockholm afterwards. It was a fantastic place to visit, and we went mushroom gathering. So we hired a guide, and she took us out into the forest. She was a biologist and an expert, obviously, in mushrooms. And we sat down by this lake at the end. Sorry, not like in the forest, and in this little clearing. And there was sun coming in. It was absolutely gorgeous
And
day.
then you started trying the mushrooms.
Yeah,
And
I
then
we did. Yeah,
there
but
were
we
more than
made
one suns. And
we picked them up, and she had brought all the fixins and everything, and it was just it was just a wonderful experience. So that was definitely a highlight. Brought on by watches, but had in the end nothing to do with watches.
that's very cool.
What about you guys?
Yeah, I've also traveled quite a bit this year for work for Isotope, and again, it's work related. But I had never been to the left coast, to Vancouver. I mean, I've driven all the way to Calgary, sorry, and then went up to Edmonton, Banff, and all that stuff. And I came back. I've never seen the Pacific Ocean. So going to Vancouver was really cool, and then having to go to California as well and visit there, and having some In-N-Out Burger and like getting that experience. I think those were really cool, but that's still fairly watch related. Other highlights for me revolve around my kids. My youngest son was accepted in an engineering internship at CAE, which is a flight simulator company, and that's being completed now. I think in middle of December he's going to be done, but he's basically getting up every day, commuting to work, having lunch with people, and like working in engineering and doing CAD design and other stuff that he loves. And so I'm very proud of him. That's really cool. And then my oldest son is graduating with a bachelor's degree in English. He's got one more exam next week, and that's it for his bachelor's degree. And then he's going to be applying for his master's for next fall. So very proud of both of them. Those are huge highlights for me this year.
Those are exciting times. That's awesome.
For me, it was travel related too, I think. Always fun to go to some new places. We went to Cartagena, Colombia earlier this year. That was a lot of fun. And then a big highlight actually is also travel related. We had a trip to Curacao, and just before the trip, Brent asked me to write an article on the trip and get photos for the Calibrated Wrist. And it was such a highlight for me to open up that magazine. I've never been published in print before. And I have the magazine, a couple copies right here. So it's nice to just see that and get that aroma at the same time when you open up a new magazine. That was a huge highlight actually for me to finally have something published in print. So yeah. Thanks for the opportunity for that. That was amazing.
Hey, there'll be more.
For sure.
What about you, Dan?
Are you sitting down? I'm a hopeless romantic, and at 52 and single for the last 3 years, I didn't think it was going to happen again. I'm being serious. And I met someone who changed my world, and that's just sort of my non-watch related stuff. And then you never know if, I do content creation, and, is this person ever going to appear? Like, you don't want to do that stuff. And one day she posted a photo of us together, and I thought, this is a big moment in my life. And she travels for a living, and I've now seen Turkey and Brazil and experienced all these wonderful things with her. And, now she appears in my giveaway videos, and she's an introvert, so it's pretty special. But that's my non-watch related. I've had an amazing year meeting a special someone. So yeah,
I'm pretty sure I could have guessed that answer. I could have absolutely guessed that answer.
Yeah.
It's great to see it.
Big moment of my year.
Yeah.
And now you're recording a podcast in your underwear in your living room. Fantastic.
And I think she's on a work call in the next room, so she missed all that. So I can't wait for her to listen.
Congrats, man. That's awesome.
Thanks.
Next one's for Brent. And this is from Jay Dangerology. Are you open to a mentorship program? I'd love to learn under you. Master your photography style is something I hope to achieve one day.
Well, yeah, probably not going to have a mentorship class anytime soon. But first of all, I really appreciate that. And I really appreciate when anybody sort of highlights my photography, because in my life, I did this. I guess you can call it seminar at a tutor in Yorkdale Mall. And it was all kinds of people that were there, just how to take better pictures of your watches. And I had a real blast giving that, because, having done my career in education, I feel like, I feel very comfortable in teaching and speaking in front of groups of people. So that was a lot of fun. But the thing is that I've never been comfortable with being called a photographer, because I've spent most of my life, sure, being called a writer or whatever, or a teacher, or those kinds of things. So I feel a little bit like that imposter syndrome, because I still feel like I am learning. I really do. And that doesn't mean that I'm not satisfied with some of the results, but in my job, I view myself as a creator, yes, and yes, I take photos. You know what I mean? So maybe someday I'll feel a little bit more at ease with that. But I really feel like I'm an image creator. And I think that just to answer Jay more seriously too, is that some changes are probably going to happen to the Instagram account in the new year. That'll be more like lifestyle, behind the scenes discovery, things like that, things I've learned, especially about the Fujifilm system and stuff, that I think, oh my God, people knew this. Like, like trying to get the picture out of the camera as close as I want to that final image, without having to touch it very much, but getting exactly where I want. And that's been a lot of fun for me. And I think I want to share that and talk to people about that. So I guess that's yeah. Thanks for that, Jay.
Well, I'll say, Brent, you say like imposter syndrome and you're always learning. But honestly, man, you've mastered your craft and you've mastered the Fuji craft. So just take it for what it is and enjoy it. You're really freaking good at photography.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I got used for you. You're a photographer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks a lot, guys. I really appreciate it. So Jay said there's a whole host of questions here. And so he wants to know what's the one watch you're definitely planning to add to your collection? What do we got here? Mark, what about you?
Pretty simple. I fell in love with the Jack Mason GMT Dr. Pepper watch from a couple years ago, the silver one with the red bezel.
Mhm.
And I had it in my hands in Vancouver, and I spent the night thinking, should I get it? Shouldn't I get it? And I missed out on it. And then I saw it again in Toronto, and he had them in stock, and he gave me a discount. And I whiffed again. But one of these days, I'm going to get one. That's one watch that I really want to have.
Great choice. What about you, Bob?
I have two. I thought I'd have them both this year, and I got neither of them this year. But I'd like to get your exact Seamaster, exact one. There's been some good deals on those lately too. I've seen, and I've missed out on a couple, but that's on the radar for me. I love that watch. And then the other one is I'll probably end up getting a Hanhart, one of the chronographs, maybe a pan. One of the I really liked, I think, the most, because we all got exposed to quite a few Hanharts this year, but the reverse Panda that had the loom on the subdials.
Oh yes.
I can't remember what model. It's a 415 ES.
Yeah, 415 ES. Yeah,
reverse Panda.
Yeah,
I think. Yeah,
that's great.
That's kind of on the list too. Yeah,
I love that. Dan,
Speedy's always on my list. I think I'm the one guy who hasn't had a Speedy go through my place, but I do want that watch at some point. Speaking of Hanhart, Felix, can I get your video in? Spoiler alert, Hanhart's in 12 Days of Dansome, if Felix gets his video in. So if any of you are talking to him. But there's so many new watches that come across, so I just have a thirst every week. And I don't know if you guys have seen this Dunwatches Mechanica 10 of 9 chronograph. It's kind of like a skeleton chronographs that come out. That's my current obsession. I just think that thing is so freaking cool. So yeah, it changes, but Speedy would be my, want to add to the collection.
Yeah.
Sweet.
I have a lot of chronographs, so it seems silly to want another one, but I don't feel like I have the chronograph yet. And so for me, it comes down to the Hanhart. For me, it's the 417 ES. It's so classic. I just love it. The flyback and the new Longines flyback. So I'm interested to see what Longines does next year with it, because they're going to iterate on it. And so I'm very interested to see what that would be. But it would be one of those for sure.
Brent, if you think it's silly to want another chronograph, we're doing all this for nothing. Every silliness for wanting another watch, then all of us and whoever's listening to this, we're all in the wrong here.
That's another thing I want to add to the collection of Longines. I love them, and Brent talks about them all the time, and you're right about the new chronograph. So that's a watch I'd like to add is a Longines, but there's a few models I love. Yeah.
All right, so next one, also from Jay. I'd like to know your top 3 movies. I'm not only a watch enthusiast, movies are my second passion. You want to go first, Dan?
Me? Cinema is a huge passion of mine. You follow my Instagram, I always talk about my movie lists and movies I'm watching.
Horror movies, yeah.
I'm a huge horror movie fan. So I get my Shudder subscription renewed in September and cancel it just November until Amazon says, but for $2 a month, you can have it for 3 more months. So I still have it. I'll just take 4 movies that pop up, but they're not. I don't
The rest is
have
3, Dan.
top
3.
3. Yeah, no, I got to do 4 because I'm going to give you different genres. Empire Strikes Back, #1 sort of thing. Like that's just a movie that just is impacted me since childhood, like Jaws. Drive, Ryan Gosling, amazing movie. Could watch that over and over. Fantastic Mr. Fox for the animated Wes Anderson people. And horror movie fans, you're next. We'll go with that one. Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, I have a hard time picking favorites of things, but so I kind of just go with what jumps to mind. And 2 of them are actually from the same director, Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs. Reservoir Dogs is very, very violent, but like there are some scenes in that movie where they're just talking about tipping, and it goes around the table, that ensemble cast, and then Harvey Keitel comes in at the end and just shuts the whole thing down. But the dynamic of all of those really great actors at that table, like it's just, there's so many cool scenes in there. And Pulp Fiction, just because it was like unlike anything I'd really ever seen when it first came out. And then the other one, it's a huge classic of mine. Absolutely love this movie, even though it's almost nothing like the book. And it's One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest with
that's a good one.
With the Chief. Oh, so good. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not gonna pick movies like you guys. I'm not gonna do director styles, and I love Four Rooms from Quentin Tarantino.
Oh yeah,
there's a lot of great movies like that, Wes Anderson's, and I pick 3 movies that if they're on, I'm going to sit there and enjoy the crap out of them, no matter how many times I've seen them, and I've seen them all like a million times. So, Princess Bride, I can watch that on a loop all day long. Spaceballs, I can watch that on a loop all day long, and I still find new things.
Part 2's coming out.
I know, and it's Mel Brooks is involved in it, and then The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. It's not a fantastic, like it's not this huge, but it's such an enjoyable movie to watch. The story arc is so well done. The music is incredible. The cinematography is incredible. Yeah.
Can I say one thing? Because now I realize I've been really paying attention to the way movies are shot since I was a kid. I actually look back on that. And I'll just say, anything cinematographer wise that was done by Roger Deakins, like I am all over it. Like Sicario, and
those are great.
It goes down the list. Like Sicario, when they're turn on the night vision and they're walking over that hill, like that is Deakins. And like I want everybody to stop who thinks about movies they love and go look him up in his movies, and then you'll get it. Right. So yeah, I'll say that. Yeah.
So here's my 3, and this I could change this answer practically every day, but here's a few that I've rewatched recently and I've watched many, many times over the years. One, and I have not seen the new part 2, but Spinal Tap. I absolutely love Spinal Tap. I don't know if anybody's seen the new one. I'm a little scared to watch it.
I haven't seen the first.
But you have not seen the first? You gotta, man. You gotta, but have to sneak in a Tarantino, True Romance, crazy cast.
That's a great movie.
Everything going on. I love that movie. I'm a huge fan of Gary Oldman, so who's in that movie. And another favorite of mine is his take on Dracula in Bram Stoker's Dracula.
That was so good. Yeah.
That was
I absolutely love that movie. Another one that I want to rewatch, actually, and I'm going to do this weekend in the horror genre, is Pan's Labyrinth. That's another favorite of mine. I'd like to check out. I haven't seen that again in a while, so that's on the list to rewatch.
I want to hear your take on Gary Oldman, Fifth Element. I love that movie. Yeah,
I can picture his character. I haven't watched that in ages. I can picture the hairdo and everything, but I'd have to rewatch it again to give a good take on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, this one is just for Mark. Mark, how do you manage your day job? Worn and Wound stuff, Isotope North America side, because Jay says he struggles managing his Instagram account alone.
Well, first of all, I've replaced the Worn and Wound work with writing for the Calibrated Wrist. So that's changed quite a bit. I now get to choose what I want to write about, the watches that I want to review, what I want to talk about. Sometimes Brent doesn't want to publish them, and I'll publish them myself. But it's much easier to manage when I can work around my time as opposed to getting tasked to write about stuff daily. So that amount of work has changed. So there's a lot less of that. Although we have a couple going on right now that I need to send watches to Bob. So that's a lot easier to manage now. The work for Isotope is part-time. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I do this full-time, though I do think about it full-time. And so a lot of stuff is after hours on weekends. And in my full-time job, I'm at a place in my career where I have a good team working for me. So it's not as much day-to-day managing accounts, managing issues, problems. It's more, putting out fires or 50,000 foot view where, budgeting and so forth. So it's very different. My career has evolved in a way where I can do these two things simultaneously, and be successful at hopefully both of them. I'd love to make the isotope thing or any watch job, full time, but I can't neglect the career that I've built over the last 30 years in supply chain. So yeah, it's not easy. I try to, it's not technique, but it's something I learned a long time ago, is how to block time. Like set aside a specific time during the day where, from 5 to 7, I'm just doing isotope stuff. Nothing else is and you just block that time and do specifically just that. And that's helped a lot to manage it because, when you're doing this much, with the podcast, the editing, the writing, it can easily be all you do all day long and neglect your family. So that's important to be able to segregate these things and compartmentalize. I said it. The tasks so that it doesn't take over my life.
Yeah.
So Bob, this one's to you again from our friend Jay. I thoroughly enjoy your YouTube videos. Any tips on speaking more confidently into the camera, or is it something you just develop over time? Dan, same question for you.
I can tell you it sure felt awkward at first, staring into a lens in an empty room into a camera, and trying to act natural, which didn't happen. I think it's a practice thing, but one little trick that I do now is because I know so many people in the watch community, and there's certain people that if I do a particular watch, I know the audience for that watch, and I'll even picture that particular person and as if I'm talking directly to them. Sometimes it might be you, Mark, or Brent, or Dan. So I sort of envision.
Are these people wearing clothes when you're viewing them?
Dan isn't. But that's, yeah, it's a practice thing. It takes a little time to get there, but you'll get there. And Jay is again doing a lot more video stuff lately, and he seems further ahead than I was like at that stage. So
What about you, Dan?
See, for me, it's always been natural. It doesn't bother me. So it's always tough when people ask. But I think there are important things to do, like talk to the camera and play it back. We all seem to change our tone originally when you're talking into the camera. It's forced, and then you realize you're doing that. So reeling yourself back in is something sometimes I have to remind myself, you're getting a little unnatural. You're getting a little outside what's easy, and you're racing through it. That's another thing. Don't race through what you're talking about on camera if you've planned it. Take the time. You actually have more time than you think. But when I'm filming people and they're asking me, I think the best way of explaining it is, when you're just talking into the mirror and you can just ramble, like do it before you start speaking. If the camera starts rolling, talk into the mirror. Hey, Dan, what are you going to do today? What are you going to talk about? What are you going to do? And then just start doing it in front of the camera. And it actually works. It's helped a few people that I've been recording with. So just talk to the mirror and then just go into whatever you're filming. And it seems to help. Yeah.
All right. So next question we have is from Sean Martin on the Worn and Wound Slack community. 2 questions from him. One, what brand do you think more watch fans need to be talking about? You want to go, Mark?
Yeah. Don't say isotope. Don't say isotope. Don't say isotope. Don't say isotope. Okay. So I think people should be talking about seal instruments more.
Yeah.
We had Andrew on the podcast, and we went over all the crazy engineering that goes in behind those watches. But I finally got to see them in person in Los Angeles and again in Texas, and got to play with them, turn those bezels and see them on wrist, feel them in hand. And best part is I actually got to spend some time with Andrew and have a couple of beers with him on a Saturday evening, talking about all things, watches and everything else. For someone to come in and take everything that's been done in watches for the last 200 years and throw it in the garbage and start from scratch. I mean, that's just absolutely incredible. And Andrew is a genuine American badass. That's it.
Yeah,
Just no instruments.
yeah.
That simple.
Yeah, they're just fantastic. I don't know. I couldn't pick one. Isotope was in my list, so if you can't say it, Mark, I will say it here. The whimsy and creativity that is there, and that I talked about, for example, RZE having a very recognizable design language. Jose has recognizable elements, but nothing's ever the same. It's fantastic, the degree of creativity that's coming out of Isotope, and the way that they're being creative. They're creative with the crystal. They're being creative with the dial, whether it's marquetry or what they've done with the flyaway. Their chronograph is unlike any other chronograph I've ever seen. The Moonshot is just it's fantastic. So absolutely Isotope. Formex. I know in our small world, we think, a lot of people talk about this, but outside our small world, they don't. I think people need to know about Formex. Fantastic pricing for the specs that you're getting. Excellent watches. Serica, I think, is coming to the point where more and more people know about it. I think being part of the Discovery Studio will help them as well, but they're a brand that should be talked about. Hanhart, for me, is one, because it's a brand that's got so much history and so many cool watches, and yet still they're not a household name, so those would be a few. I could probably just keep rattling them off.
One of my all-time favorite brands and my favorite watch I own is from Isotope. That's not my answer, but I need to rack up that other extra $20 US from Mark and Isotope. But no, but that is a good answer. But I do have another answer, and that would be Micro Mil Spec. You mentioned them already, Brent. That's one of my favorite brands right now. They're doing some things sort of behind the scenes with how they're working the business, and I think you're going to hear a lot more about them, especially next year. I got a sneak peek at some watches that are coming out. I think the plan is for next year, and they've got some really good stuff in the pipeline. Even going back to Tyler's question about the perfect Gata, the Milgraph has the GMT, the chronograph, killer spec sheet, looks amazing. That's a brand I think deserves more attention, and probably will get more attention coming up.
Sure. Dan.
Well, yeah, the Isotopes, the Mil Specs, those brands you mentioned. Yeah, I want Serica. I want to add all those. For me this year, Strom. That dial, that finish, that micro adjust. Bob filmed this video. That micro adjust butterfly clasp. Oh, I really want to add one of those. The problem is, do I get the red? What do I get? Do I get the discount? What do I get? Yes. I'm a watch collector with a lot of watches, but I have the cheapest watch collector you'll ever. Strom, that they just dazzled me this year, and that's also because the first Vancouver Timepiece show, a lot of my friends who aren't watch people came, and then they kept coming to me the first night. Have you seen these Stroms? It was the talked about watch there.
Yeah. It began with the dials, and now he's gone really into the deep end of innovating. And I think that's you suddenly realize when the designer becomes a watchmaker, you know what I mean? And they're definitely at that point right now.
They've they've climbed the fence of, now we're watchmakers. We're not just designers. I agree. Yeah.
I'm disappointed that they used to have a case that had an integrated bracelet design that went into a standard case.
Mm-hmm.
And then they got rid of that lug design and went straight into an integrated bracelet. Not that I would change it for a strap, me, but I kind of like the way it looked, and the fact that they went ahead and made something that looked really good, like an integrated bracelet, but you still had the option to take it off and put regular straps on. So I know they have an adapter now and they can do that stuff. I get it, but I think I like that old design, but they weren't going anywhere at that time. And then the minute they did the integrated bracelet, then poof, it just took off. So good for them. Very happy for them.
Yeah.
So next question again was from Sean Martin, who I met in Texas, by the way, and is a really tall dude. I knew he was tall, but in person, I think he's 6'8" or something. He's a giant man. What is the biggest improvement in watches you've seen since you've been in the hobby?
I can go on this one. And I was going to talk about this earlier when we were talking bracelets, and we're talking bracelets again, but bracelets for me, especially on more affordable watches, I remember it was almost a given to have folded links, hollow link, end link, stamped clasps. But the quality and engineering, especially on affordables, has gone through the roof in a lot of cases. That being said, you were talking about the older bracelets with no micro adjust and stuff. When I put one of those watches on, there's something special about those jingly, jangly bracelets. They're lightweight. They're so comfortable. So I do have like a little bit of a soft spot for the older style bracelets too, the way you do, Mark. But yeah, for me, I think bracelets.
Yeah.
Can I just interrupt for 1 second? Brent, your Seamaster 300, the original one, the older one.
Yeah.
That bracelet compared to the new 300M bracelet, it looks very similar. But if you look at the old one, you'll notice that every single piece of link is rounded.
Exactly. Yeah.
It looks like it's finished by hand. I'm sure it's not. It's Omega, for crying out loud. But it's so special, that bracelet, compared to the squared off angles and the precision cut and the sharp edges on the new one. I take the old one any day.
I wondered too, like, the watch has been around for a long time now, 30 years. And I think part of it is just even the way it wears eventually too. But yeah, its life is around rounded links for sure. But I still will say that for me, it's bracelets. And again, it comes down to, you expected a certain quality on a high-end watch, but you're getting that quality on a lower priced watch now, a lower spec watch now. And I think that's, a fantastic move. And also, with the idea still of bracelets is that they're so it isn't even just like micro adjust or on the fly comfort adjust. It's everything about them, the tolerances, etc. I tried on the old CK299, the old Speedmaster, and I was shocked at how flimsy the bracelet was. The watch is perfect, but how flimsy that bracelet is. And, you just wouldn't get that on a half decent watch now. So bracelets for sure. What about you, Mark?
I'm similar to you guys, but not necessarily just on bracelets. In the space and time that I've been in this thing, the quality of the Chinese made products for all these micro brands have gone up unbelievably. When micro brands first started, it was all catalog cased stamped stuff. Things didn't fit right. Bezels just felt like there were still pieces of metal in there. Like, the quality coming out of China is outstanding. And when you think about companies like Atelier Wen with their products they're making in China and other stuff, I think the quality for what's being made at the prices they're being made, and because of the vacuum that a lot of the traditional houses have now created by moving up market, now we have all this space for these micro brands to come in and create some incredibly well finished and beautifully made watches. It's fantastic. Another thing that I really, really appreciate is the democratization of the GMT movement by companies like Seiko and especially Citizen with their 9075, I think it is, with a proper Traveler's GMT that is now affordable. You find proper Traveler GMTs that are $500, $700, $1,000. And these 9 series movements are super accurate. They're not your crazy wild 8,000 series, which 25 seconds a day, or the NH30, whatever, that's bomb proof, will never die. You probably never have to service your entire life, but you'll never get it to be accurate. These ones, those 9 series movements, are true competitors to the Swiss. They're the same sizes, and now they offer the complications that are, affordable. So that's my take on it. Dan?
Yeah, the quality of affordable small brand watches, right? Like, and bracelets fall right into that. It's not just fashion brands down in that price range anymore. It's like quality micro brands that are putting out better stuff, right? So yeah, everything you guys covered.
Well, our next one here is from Steve Fiallo. I hope I pronounced that correct, from the Warner Wound Slack community. And more specifically, it's for Mark. Having visited a bunch of watch fairs and shows since joining Isotope, what do you think is good about watch shows and what isn't good? And what would you like to see maybe as a vendor?
Well, I'll tell you, yes, I have done number of shows this year. And what I don't like is that there's a lot of shows. I mean, a lot of shows. I can't imagine the amount of miles that Jose put on this year. He must have like gold, platinum, diamond, you know, card status for whatever airline he uses. Anyways, but yeah, there's a lot of shows and there's a bit of saturation there, especially when shows are close together, right? You'll have the New York watch fairs that are there. You'll have some in Pennsylvania, some in Northern Virginia, and it's all the same people oftentimes. Like Jose was talking about the ones that are in the UK. He'll go to a show in Scotland and then the new one in Birmingham and the new one in London, and it's the same people that come every time. They're not necessarily buying anything; they just want to say hello. But Jose is there to introduce and to have people come in that are interested in maybe possibly purchasing or learning about the brand. Saying the same people over and over again doesn't necessarily help things. But they have to be done. I mean, we have to do shows for people to get them on their wrists and touch them and feel them and all that stuff. We talked about that earlier. But what I think that isn't really good is the big, massive, giant shows for brands like Isotope or others that have lots of stories to tell and a lot of design cues to explain. And we need to connect with people. A massive show when they're 6 deep in front of you and you're just regurgitating the story without the passion doesn't work. Like we did a little show in New York called The Hype. It was outside of Warren and Wound's Windup, just about a block away. We obviously didn't have crowds, but we had a small little space with coffee tables and chairs and couches and some drinks and coffees. And people were coming in and we'd sit down with them and then we get to talk about the watches and connect.
Yeah.
That was one of the best shows we did this year. And no, we didn't have the traffic we would have liked. It was the first year in New York, so that might change next year and who knows what. But I think that shows shouldn't be 150 brands in a massive auditorium space where it's so loud you can't hear yourself think, and you're elbow to elbow, and people are bumping up against each other trying to handle a watch or never even get a chance to touch the watch because someone's holding it forever. I don't know. There's space and time for that. I mean, I did visit Wind Up, and it was fun seeing all those brands out there and seeing all those media personalities and the people that you see on YouTube and on Instagram all over the place. But if you really want to connect with a brand and you want to connect with an owner, I think Jason's shows are about as big as they should get.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the Toronto Timepiece show getting bigger than that might deteriorate the quality of time you get to spend with people. Maybe, I don't know. We're gonna have to see. But the Vancouver one was phenomenal. I think that was a great size. It was a great event, great space. Got to spend a lot of time with people. I think the Montreal one's going to be interesting as well because it's a great space. But yeah, that's my take. I think that it's fun, it's great. I think that we should limit the sizes and maybe spread them out. I mean, next year's Isotope's 10th anniversary. We may not do as many shows next year, but we might do more private events with Red Bar and other groups like the Utah Orological Society or stuff like that. So next year's gonna be fun. Stay tuned. That's my take on that.
Great.
All right, so the next 3 questions are from Cinziana Iordache. She is a hyper-realist artist, friend of ours, and she asks, you are exposed to so many watches per year. Do you ever experience collector burnout, or does the industry constantly inspire you? Brent?
I think I experience burnout from time to time. For sure. Like Mark said, sometimes when he was with Warren and Wound, the number of things that he had to write about all the time and, trying to be creative and trying to do it right, et cetera. I think that can happen. So, but on the other hand, there suddenly something will happen, something will be released or, that I think, or I'll just think of something that, like I wrote an article for yesterday on the Calibrated Wrist about the rise of French watchmaking, and that for me was just cleaning the palette, like not writing about one particular watch, but just thinking about things, and so I go back to that in order to sort of replenish the well, I guess. What about you, Mark?
Yeah, I get burnout. Having handled and owned and reviewed and played with so many watches over the years that it's gotten to a point where I no longer know what I really want, and there's nothing that I really want except for now this Planet Ocean which came out. I remember hearing someone say that's in our space on a podcast, I don't remember which one, saying that he no longer needs to have a watch or own a watch to enjoy his horological journey. Like he's fine with just seeing them, and that's not me. my favorite part of this whole thing is the hunt and the figuring out how the hell I'm going to wind up getting that watch. I'm not a millionaire. I don't have, I don't make $500,000 a year. I have a modest living, a good living. I have kids in college, and for me, it's the finding out how I'm going to acquire this next piece when I find one that I really want. So that's part of my journey. That's what I like. But yeah, burnout does exist, especially when I was writing for Word and One, like you said, Brent, having to write about press releases and copywriting and new stuff all the time. After a while, it's hard to get the creative juices going and trying to, especially if it's a watch that you really, not that you don't like it, it's just not for you. And yeah, you have to write about it and you have to try to look at it from some perspective, but the inspiration is not there. And it's hard to put down 600 words or 500 words when it's not there. So yeah, I definitely feel the burnout.
I find I do too occasionally, and almost once a year it'll happen where over the course of a few months, a few brands will reach out and be like, hey, we got a thing coming out in the spring. I don't have exact dates, but I agree to it. And there's a bunch of things that I've agreed to that all of a sudden happen at the same time that I wasn't expecting when I agreed to it. And I had that happen actually this year. And at the same time, I met with Brent with one of our drug deals we do every couple of months. Watch deals, I mean, excuse me. And I think I ended up with like 30 watches all at the same time to create content for different levels of content, full-length videos, posts on Instagram, all this stuff. And that was overwhelming. And by the time that was finished, I was burned out for sure. But I find the stuff like the events, we do, Jason and I from the Toronto Timepiece show do monthly events here in Toronto, Montreal, and Ottawa. Cynthiana actually has come to a couple of them. That helps kind of re-energize me, fills up the tank again a lot of times.
Yeah.
How about you, Dan?
I don't think I've been watching as long as you guys, so I don't have burnout yet. Everything's a novelty to me. Every new tiny release, whether Timex can release a 1975 retro re-release, and I go gaga over it. Like, it's all these little things that just keep me excited.
Yeah.
On the 24th of this month, I'll be burnt out, but that's the only thing that really burns me out is firing and keeping myself flying for these giveaways because I love doing it. But when it comes to watches and watch collecting and all that, no, I'm just excited about the next thing. Yeah.
Awesome.
Cool.
Yeah. So next question from Cynthiana is any watch release that really surprised you this year? Dan, why don't you take that one first?
Nothing surprised. Like, it's watch. There's watches I love that I can't take off my wrist. Honestly, my Vostra. Like, I realize they're doing giveaways and all that stuff, but
they're coming out with some really cool stuff too.
I know. So
yeah,
I ordered the Kickstarter yellow version, and I was like, "That's so cool looking." And then I had it came through my place. He sent the demo around and I had the blue one. It was titanium, so I didn't know what the steel was going to feel like. But when I got it, I was like, yeah, great chronograph. It's nice. But suddenly I just keep reaching for it because it's easy to wear. It actually looks super cool on the wrist. It's Mecha Course, so you just pick it up and you go. But it just wears so nicely on me that I just keep wearing it. And I'm like, I thought it was just going to be a mix in the rotation of nice watches, but I just keep picking it up.
Yeah.
I also have all three, so I just rotate through all three and just keep picking them up.
I just love what Kirk Lipitton is doing with those guys too, like the content he's creating for it. Oh,
yeah, it's awesome.
So cool.
Yeah. But I'll say there's another watch that I'm surprised about. It's the Timex 1975 Gold Enigma 34 that I got for her, and I just keep wearing it with its little acrylic crystal, right? But I don't have any new exciting brands to talk about in that sense. Those are the watches that just surprised me this year that I keep wearing them. Yeah.
I don't know if Mark's going to choose the same thing as me, but for me, it's the Omega Planet Ocean. I'm not surprised that they released one. I knew it was the anniversary coming up, but like what they released, and you know what? There's so much controversy and division over it. And it's so silly. It's such a great watch. People just have to be quiet. It's such a great watch. yeah, okay, it doesn't look exactly like the old one did, but the dial is pretty much the same, and they've taken cues from other Seamasters throughout the years, Prof, etc. And this watch, like if I had my choice, would I have done the polished center links? Maybe not, but like that would not stop me if I had that money. That would be a watch I would pick up without hesitation.
How much is it?
11,700 on bracelet.
Yeah.
They've gone up from the 6-7 range, right?
They've gone
Or
up
is that
from the
just
2 or 3 range 15 years ago, 20 years ago, man.
the owner of the agency I still do work for? Friend of mine, he lent me his Planet Ocean like 3-4 years ago, and that's a watch I would own.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're just awesome.
This one just wears so well on top of everything else. I just can't believe it. Yeah.
Mark, what did you think of the leather combo Brent posted with it the other day? Or was it today?
Looks nice.
Did you even see it? Yeah.
Looks nice. That's it.
He's
What
turning
about
red.
you, Bob?
Honestly, the watch that came to mind is the watch I'm wearing today. Just maybe it's recency bias, but I was actually surprised to see this release from Vario. So I'll say the Futurist.
Yeah, I'm with Brent. That Planet Ocean, I didn't see it coming. I too knew it was anniversary time, and who would have thought that the only thing that stayed the same were the hands?
Mm-hmm.
The dial, everything's changed. Everything completely changed. I never saw, and I don't think Omega's ever done that before, because even with the 300M, the evolution of it, there's still lots that looks exactly the same.
Yeah.
Little refinements, little changes here. But this is like they chucked everything in the garbage and started from scratch, and I love that.
Yeah. It's like they sat around a table and said, what does the Planet Ocean have to be in 2025?
Yeah,
let's bring it up, but bring it
and we
into
listen to collectors.
Yeah.
Right. No helium escape valve. It's thinner. No date. A lot of people like that. I mean, it's very cool. The other one that shocked me, or not shocked me, that surprised me that I wasn't expecting, and it was also very recent at Dubai Watch Fair, Watch Week, whatever it's called, was the Ulysse Nardin Urwerk You're a Freak. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yeah.
But it's a Ulysse Nardin Freak made with your work bits. I mean, it's so cool. It's bonkers, stupid, expensive, and we'll never own it. But that kind of surprised me. I didn't see that collaboration coming. We got to hurry it up here. We got 7 minutes left. Go.
That's right. Okay, so what's an industry grail you admire but would never buy for yourself, regardless of the price? That's also from Cinziana.
I'll go first on this one.
Sure.
I got to fondle an Elang and Sone datograph in red gold recently. Holy cow.
I've touched the same watch. Yeah.
Oh my God. I could wear that thing upside down, and I don't even care about the
level.
Next level. I'll never own one.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
It's 6 figures plus. I'll never. But I have a friend in Montreal that owns one, so I can see it whenever I want to.
Bob?
There's almost all of them I'll never own. But I always enjoy watches like MBNF. There's a few different models that they make that I couldn't imagine spending that kind of money, and I also couldn't imagine actually wearing them. But I just really appreciate those type of designs. So I won't say a particular model, but MBNF, I think, for me.
Dan?
I know people kind of laugh at them and think but I saw a poster in the airport and the flowers on the watch, Jacob and Co. It's just they're hideously overpriced and all this stuff. Yada yada yada. They're jewelry makers, but those things look so freaking cool with the giant domes and the fairies and like, come on, who wouldn't want that?
Me, I wouldn't want that.
It's so cool, but I'm never gonna buy it.
Yeah.
For me, it's and it's regardless of money, like the question says, it's the 5711. It's the Patek Nautilus. And I tried it on for the very first time. It was an older version of it, but and it fits like a dream. Like I couldn't believe it's just like it belonged on my wrist. But the truth is, I don't believe in spending that much on a watch. And there's a certain factor that comes along with that, like, oh, he's got that, kind of like what Andrew McCutcheon said when he had the Batman and sold it, and that just would carry that along too, despite the fact that actually it wears like a dream.
Dude, back in the late 90s, early 2000s, Kaufman's in Montreal was a Patek. It still is a Patek dealer, and they had them all in the showcases, and they were begging people to buy them.
Crazy.
Begging. They were all there. You know, if I had a time machine, I would have known that. I would have bought them all and mortgaged my house, got them all, and then just sat on it for 20 years. And
Well, we've got less than 4 minutes left,
Yeah,
and we
go
got
for it. Last
one
question.
question.
Okay, our final question comes from Jason Hutton, brand owner of Zenea, founder of the Canadian Timepiece Show series. He asks, what is one independent brand that you discovered this year that was a surprise to you?
Awake.
Mark.
Awake, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Bob just, he probably didn't think of it.
You're
Oh, no
kidding me.
kidding.
That's my exact answer.
Me, it's Moles & Co.
Oh, wow.
I got
Yeah,
to see
that's great
one
too.
in Vancouver. Someone walked up to the isotope booth wearing one. I asked to see it. I was really impressed with a very nice micro adjust bracelet. Dan, you'd be proud of it. It's small, it's thin, it's super well done. Actually, I've got one right here. Look how thin that is.
Nice. That's great.
It's tiny. I mean, it's great.
That's cool.
And I got to see them in Austin. Bacina and Chris were representing the brand there, and they lent me one to review for a calibrated wrist. And I got to see the other dials and everything. I think that their design language, the fit and finish for such a young brand is extremely impressive.
Awesome. What about you, Dan?
I agree with Moles and Awake. Yeah. Strom was me this year. I wasn't familiar with them, and they just blew me away at seeing them at the Vancouver show. And I knew about the brand, but I got to hold and see Clements in Toronto, that Munro Field watch.
Yeah.
I loved that thing. For the price, the
For sure.
finish on it,
For sure.
I loved that watch. So thanks, Jason, for getting them there.
What's the
Yeah,
brand,
yeah.
Brent? The little blue one that you photographed for me. I reviewed. I forgot the name. The British brand,
The Bullcroft.
Bowcroft.
Yeah.
Those
That
are
is a
really cool
gorgeous
too.
watch. Yeah.
Also, we have 2 minutes left, but one thing I just want to say about Awake, their dials are incredible, and it's kind of funny. We were talking Quentin Tarantino earlier in the podcast. I don't know if you've seen they've just done a really cool Kill Bill collab. Just came out a couple days ago.
Those dudes are really cool. They're really nice guys.
Well, both two great guys too.
Yeah.
Guys, I feel like we could just never stop talking, but thanks again so much for joining us here so early today too. And also thanks for all you do with the 12 days of Dansome. It's fantastic. You know, it's great for the community. It's great for us. And if you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to check out Dan's work at the Dansome, and don't forget to subscribe where you're listening right now. It really helps us in bringing you more conversations like this one. Until next time, T2C out.